So you mentioned liking a vast range of music, which is awesome. But you also mentioned punk rock and rock, and I love that's my favorite type of music. And I saw that in 2015 you won the Battle of the Bands at Warped Tour. Me myself being a person that loved Warped Tour, attended a couple of times. That sounds like a really cool opportunity. Do you mind telling us a little bit about how it felt being on stage with those, like the same stage that those bands are on, and what experience you had at that time?
Yeah, so I was in the Battle of Bands concert and what is it called? Contest. And that was it was actually 2013 was the first time I won it, and I had all like my fans voting, and they got me noticed by whoever books Warp Tour. And I just got an email that was like, you're selected to play the band's Warp Tour on this date. And the first one I did was in the Los Angeles area. And then in 2015, actually, like, I didn't know that I was in the contest, and then I won it because the fans were voting. So I was like, oh, cool, I'll play it again. And that one was in the Bay Area. So yeah, it was like a dream come true for me.
That's pretty cool. So were you just attending Warped Tour and suddenly you got the news, or did they tell you ahead of time?
No, it was ahead of time. Um, like all these bands, like thousands of bands, would compete for a a show at each city. So usually your local place, and yeah, it was cool.
That's pretty cool. And then you mentioned, like having to face many barriers as a trans artist in comparison to cis artists, for example. So, what advice would you give a trans person who is thinking of pursuing music?
I would say to practice as much as you can, figure out your style, listen to as much music as you can, find out who inspires you, keep listening to them, listen to music that you never thought you would listen to before. I really believe in like listening to as many genres as you want. Like for me personally, like I dive into so many different genres with my music, and that's because of what I listen to. And I would just say, like, I started playing by playing open mics, and that's how I like got comfortable to be on stage. And like my first couple times on stage, I was in elementary school and middle school, and like right after I played, I just like bursted into tears the first two times because it was like so much pressure. So doing the open mic thing and just getting used to being on stage, I think is, a great idea.
Yeah, kind of like stepping out of your comfort zone for the first time will hopefully
Yeah.
maybe make it a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So has it gotten better with the presence of like more trans like artists and actors, for example, to kind of like put yourself out there as a musician and being openly trans?
Yeah, I would say things are a lot easier now. I still think we have a super long way to go, but I came out like 13 years ago now, and things are so much different now, like in a good way. Like when I came out, if I said I'm transgender, people like didn't know that word. And now you could just say you're trans and people know what it means for the most part. um like when I came out, there was like six top surgeons in the entire country, and now there's like hundreds, and there was like less than 10 trans guy YouTubers. Like we had like two websites for resources on like how do I get a binder, and how do I use this, and how does, what do I do, like it it just, it's it's better now. It's much different now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know myself personally, I was fortunate enough to kind of like grow up with the internet. So I know like when I started questioning my own gender, I was able to find these like resources and like people who were open about their transition and things like that. So
Mhm.
yeah, um, but kind of like shifting gears more towards like transitioning and things like that. So I know you're very open about your own journey and transition on Instagram and on social media and the internet. And I know you recently had a transphobic incident trying to get medical care. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, I'll dive into it briefly. Yeah, last Monday I needed to see a doctor. a specialist, and they turned me away when I got to the office, and they said they couldn't treat me. And it was one of the most humiliating experiences of my life. It was shocking. It was super shocking that like in 2020 this is still happening. And I tweeted the experience, and it did get word of a lot of celebrities like Anthony Rapp and Andrea Gibson and a lot of the drag race girls. So a lot of people caught attention to it. A lot of also trans guy YouTubers supported me on it, and the tweet was seen like almost 600,000 times now, which is a lot. And it was in Billboard, and yeah, I'm going to continue to spread the word and see what options that I have to have justice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really sorry I had to go through that. Yeah, like you said, in 2020, it's shocking but not surprising that us as trans folks still have to go through this and fighting for basic human
Mhm.
rights like Medicare,
Yeah.
medical help. Um, but so can you do you recollect like the first experience you had with like activism? Like how did you first start getting into that?
Sure. Well, I was in middle school. I came out, and as soon as I came out, I started to get bullied in school. And this is a totally, different time. So yeah, I came out, and people were not cool with it. Most people weren't cool with it, and I was bullied in the hallways and in class, and people would call me names, and it was brutal, and it made me very very depressed. And what ended up happening was a school counselor sent me to the Long Island Gay and Lesbian Youth Center, which saved my life, honestly. I met other LGBT people there. But what ended up happening was I joined this awesome program called the Safe Schools Team, and they taught us how to speak in public. And I started speaking in public when I was 13 years old. So I've just been used to it. My first speech I gave, and I had it written in pencil on a piece of loose leaf paper, and I just shared my story about how the center transformed my life. And yeah, now it's been half of my life doing this, actually more than half of my life. And it's a passion. But I did start in activism because I wanted to stop the bullying, because I wanted my name in the yearbook as Ryan, because I wanted the right to use the bathroom at school, because I wanted to be able to exist in school. So it was like either be an activist, be a trans activist, or don't go to school. So, and I liked school. I wanted to learn. So I decided to be an activist while attending high school. And I was like the kid in the hallway with petitions, getting other students to sign and having meetings with school staff members and all of that, trying to make change in the world, in the school.
Well, that's very inspiring. Thank you for sharing that. And you know, with this activist work, it's oftentimes, most of the time, I feel like left to like trans folk and like other marginalized people to fight
Mhm.
for like our own rights and like organize and like create petitions and policy and then have people like approve those things. So like
Yeah.
what do you do to like combat burnout? Like how do you take care of yourself?
Yeah, I mean, luckily from the time I was very young, I've been blessed with passion and drive. So I'm a workhorse. I pretty much work all the time. I'm doing something all the time. It's just my personality and the way my brain is. And I did learn over the last year that self-care is super important. So when I am feeling like overwhelmed, I shut my phone off. I watch a movie. I just actually like started watching like TV shows. Like that was not really something I did. I just pretty much worked like from morning until I fell asleep. And yeah, now I take a little bit of time sometimes.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I recommend like just being in tune with yourself, and like if you're feeling overwhelmed, do something. that you like or that's not work related, and just something that's soothing.
Yeah, and a little bit of like self-care time goes a long way. It's a start into like
Yeah.
getting used to it, I think. Yeah. Um, and you mentioned like starting to watch TV shows, something that you hadn't done before. Have you picked up any other like quarantine hobbies or interests or anything like that?
Yeah. In quarantine I started painting. So
Oh,
that's
nice.
been fun. It's been really fun. It's a good outlet. And I started playing bass guitar too. So, yeah, there's been some stuff I've learned. Oh, and I also like learned how to produce my own music on a Logic Pro. So, that's also thing. So, there's another I made a whole album, like wrote and recorded this entire album in the quarantine.
Oh, that's really awesome. That is
So,
super
yeah,
cool.
there's another one coming.
Nice. Okay, I'm excited for that. I will definitely check it out when it drops. So how many instruments do you play?
I play harmonica, guitar, piano. Those are like what I play, like that I
Hmm,
would say actually I play well. So, yeah.
that's awesome. Nice. Um, and well, it looks like you picked up some really cool skills here in quarantine, like producing your own music and things like that. But how has your experience shifted now, like transitioning to more of a digital platform and yeah, having to like give virtual concerts and things like that?
Yeah, at first it was like sort of depressing. Like, my whole tour was canceled, and I was really looking forward to it. And it literally was starting the week of the shelter in place, so we had to cancel the entire tour. And yeah, so that was a bummer. And but then I was like, you know what? We got to still connect. You know, people are feeling hopeless right now, and we can't hug, we can't do all the stuff that we want to do at the shows, shake hands, hug, sing together. So like let's figure out how do we do this in a virtual way. And I've been doing a lot of Instagram lives, and sometimes I just really just go like randomly on. Like sometimes I'll just be cooking dinner and I'll just pop on and talk to people, invite people into my streams and stuff so that we could connect, because it's important. Human connection is important. And I know that there's a lot of young people out there that do not have supportive parents. There's a lot of young people that have written that they are like hiding in their basement or their room because their parents cannot find out that they're connecting with LGBT people. So
Hmm.
it's like it is important right now that these young people like aren't able to go to school, they're not able to go to the LGBT centers, like they need to connect in some way. And however I could help for that, I will.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's definitely put some people in a very tough spot, having to be in unsupportive households and yeah, just being in those situations. So yeah, my heart goes out to all those people. And what advice would you give them? Like any message of hope?
Yeah, I mean, just know that you will eventually turn 18 and you could get out. And things are changing in a positive way. I really believe that, and I've seen it, I've witnessed it. And I truly believe that things are looking up. And I believe in the future of the community. I believe that all the work we're doing is paving paying off. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Especially how you mentioned kind of like doing all that work for your school. So, you know, that brought up the attention to the teachers and the staff, maybe something that they
Mhm.
hadn't thought about before.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, okay. And something else I want to bring up regarding transition was I've heard a lot about like, you know, the misconception of like being on testosterone connected to like being man enough or being like trans enough and like kind of the validity of being a man and being on T. But you're very open about not being on T. So can you tell us like a little bit about that experience and maybe like what advice would you give to those who are considering it or like not considering taking it and how like they can feel that they're trans enough even if they're not taking testosterone or
Yeah.
medically transitioned. Mhm.
When I was 16, I actually wanted to go on T, and my parents were like, let's wait to make the decision till you're 18. And I was already singing, and my career had already started. And I was like, you know what? After my top surgery, I'll see how I feel. In terms of, am I more comfortable? Is the gender dysphoria lifting after my top surgery? And it did for me. And I decided, you know what, like I don't want to have to go through this whole thing of retraining my voice, and
Mhm.
I don't want to have to take time off, because you don't know what the change will be. There's no like, there's no like written out thing like your voice is going to drop on this day, and so
Mhm.
it's like for me, someone that's like until this quarantine like never gone a month without playing a show is I didn't want to not do that. Like playing music is my favorite thing. And yeah, I just was like, all right, I feel fine as I am. I feel good as Ryan. I've been this way for, for forever. So I'm good how I am. And for anyone that doesn't want to take hormones that's trans, like that doesn't make you any less trans. It doesn't make you any less the gender that you are. Like there it's stereotypes, we don't have
Mhm.
to play into these stereotypes. You could be however you want to be. Whoever you are, just be. You don't have to follow uh someone else's path. There's no map about how you transition. It's not the way it is. You do what's comfortable for you, specifically you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that like one of the most beautiful things really about like, being like your own person is really making your own story, and like it's your transition and it's your own journey, and you're going to make it what you want to make it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's really cool. Thank you for that. Um what's the most meaningful song you've ever written or lyric, like your favorite?
Yeah. I Well, Daughter is
Mm.
became the most meaningful song because of the way it impacted other people. It was another reminder of my purpose, and someone actually just wrote in the Q&A chat part here. They wrote, "Hi Ryan, I found your song Daughter right when I started to question gender. I'm now FTM in a GSA where we educate our school about the LGBTQ community, cutting my hair tomorrow, getting my first binder in a week, and going to start learning guitar. You have really helped me through my journey with your music. Thank you so much. I'm happier than I've ever been, and you are part of the reason why." So it's like things like that
Mhm.
is like one, why I keep going, and two, like that song, it helps people, and it makes me extremely happy that 1 3-minute song could have such an impact on so many people. And I'm very grateful for that, and that it got out there, and that people spread it around, and it helps young people and families. And yeah, I'm just happy for that.
Yeah. No, that's really awesome. I personally love music. It's like a huge part of my life, and kind of similar to this person in the audience, I found like hope in so many like songs and like artists that I've connected with, especially like in really rough patches in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So, so have you ever felt that connection with like artists growing up, or just like other musicians that you listen to? Kind of your experience.
Yeah. And I think that's like, that's the purpose of music, is we find ourselves, we relate to lyrics, we
Mm,
just it humanizes us. It's like it's validating, and I think that's important. And there's music that's like super deep, and it's like, wow, this is who I am. And then there's other music that's just like super happy, and it's like, yeah, I get to dance now. Like this is what I want to do. I want to dance and have fun, and shake off all the bad feelings. And I think music is just validation. It's the I believe it's one of the most powerful forms of communicating.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I feel like sometimes when I can't put my own thoughts into words, I can just like turn to a song and there it is.
Mhm. Me
Mhm.
too.
Yeah. And you mentioned feeling or having music as like something that's very validating. So, what other ways do you feel like validated as a musician, as a trans musician, as a trans person, and what makes you feel like euphoria?
Yeah, I mean, being surrounded by people that I love, people that support me, hearing from everyone online and at shows, and yeah, just getting like feedback like that. It's super important to me. Getting letters to my PO box and just, being reminded of my purpose.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like the human connection that you mentioned earlier, like at the shows, for example. But I think like now moving to a more remote and virtual setting, there's so many cool things like happening, like events like this and like your many live streams, which I think creates like a really good opportunity for like artists and musicians to be pretty intimate, I feel, and kind of like close to their fans and being able to
Yeah.
interact with them. So, what has been like one of the most meaningful experiences you've had with a fan?
There's been a lot. Um there was this one show in Denver, the last tour that I was on, and a kid met came up and we met, and he started crying, and he told me like how my music like just changed his life, and it was why he didn't commit suicide, and it was so like impactful. And then I was talking to some more people outside the venue, and that happened, that someone else had the same story, and it was just like, wow. And I'm not the type of person to like hang out backstage. Like, I'm
Mm,
always out there mingling with people and talking to people. Like, I want to connect as much as everyone else does. For
yeah.
me, it's not just about the show. It's not just about playing music on stage. Like, it's about like getting to know other people and building community and introducing people to each other so that they have friends in their local area that have the same interests as them. And what better way to do that than at a show? And I
Hmm.
encourage people here too, like, if it's possible in this chat, like, become friends with some people, if you relate on any of the questions or something.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think fostering and building community is one of the most important things to do. Like that's where you find support, you find friends, you find really meaningful connections. Um, so what other ways have you like found community, and what advice would you give people to find community like now that we're in more of a remote setting? I know you mentioned
Hmm.
shows, which is like virtual shows, which is a great idea, but any other ways that you've done it during quarantine?
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of LGBT groups happening hosted by centers, and like they're accessible now from all over the world. So definitely look into that. I know the LA LGBT Center has online events happening right now, so you could easily look that up. And yeah, I mean, I post as many as I see on my Instagram when there's groups and stuff, and like going there, you can make some friends and just build some connections with people that have the same situation as you, or similar things going on as you, or similar interests.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Um, and like, what's the best way for people to be able to join like your streams? Like, what platforms can they look out
Oh,
for?
you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram. Yeah, pretty much I'm on everything, but mostly I
Mhm.
do the live streaming on Instagram and YouTube. So it's at Ryan Cassata is the usernames.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, like I check them out whenever I get the chance. Like they're really fun.
Thank
Like I
you.
said, yeah, like I've been able to connect with people in the chat, so that's been like really cool.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it's important.
hmm yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. Um, so okay, so what's like the best, but maybe like not the greatest thing about being like a visible and open artist?
The best thing is getting to help other people. It's, being visible, and like, okay, I'll like, this is how I'll put it. When I was a young teenager, I looked up to trans musicians, and there was only a few then, and it was Storm Miguel Flores, Joshua Clipp, Joe Stevens, and um Lucas Silvera from the Clicks. and they're trans guy musicians, and I saw them and I said, "Oh, they're doing what I want to do. It's possible for me as well. It's possible for me to live my dreams even though I'm trans, even though I'm out, even though the world isn't completely awake yet." Like, so that's what's important to me, showing people that look, you could do anything you want to do. It doesn't matter that you're trans. You could do whatever you want to do, and you could live your dreams. So I truly believe in that, and I hope that for people I could be an example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very inspiring. It's kind of a fun question. What's like your dream tour lineup? Like, who would you like to tour with when things come back?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I definitely love doing the indie music stuff, so I love just being with other bands on the road and being with other indie artists. I think it's a fun it's fun. And yeah, we were supposed to play a show with Against Me on Long Island,
Mm.
near my hometown, and we hope that will get rescheduled. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Especially with other like trans artists, that would be a
Yeah.
really fun experience. Yeah, for sure. Here's kind of another fun one. So if you were a music album, what would be the title of it and why?
Oh, that's a good question, but I mean, like, to be honest, like, all of my albums that I released are written, they're my truth, they're my story. So like all of them are so far my title for,
Mm.
for my life. And it is sometimes hard to pick a it is hard to pick a title. One of my earliest albums is called The Theme of Humankind, and maybe that's the one I'm relating to the most right now in terms of words.
Mm. Oh, nice. I like that. Yeah, I've listened to I listened to it. I can definitely relate. Um, and so, do you sometimes get like writer's block when trying to write new music?
Yeah. I don't try anymore. I just wait until it comes to me. If I try and I'm not feeling the feeling of inspiration, nothing good comes. It's just,
Mm.
just throwaway music. So I just always wait for that inspiration, and hopefully it hits when I'm at home near a guitar or a piano. So but yeah, it's like I my friend Paul Williams, he and I both agreed that like songwriting, it's like I can't teach songwriting. You can't teach someone to become a songwriter. You can't it's not something that we even know how to do. Like it just is. Like it's something inside of us, and it's a gift. It's not something that you could teach.
Yeah. No, that's yeah, I agree with that. It's something really special, really. But what advice would you give someone when like they're not really feeling inspired, or someone who might feel like it's not gonna come to them? Like, what advice can you give them?
Travel, adventure, and if you can't do that physically, read books. And because that's adventurous, read books, hear other stories, and go on a mental adventure.
Yeah, I think books can be like an escape from reality to travel to like another place. Like you said, there's so many different types of genres out there that will surely take you to like a different world, new experiences.
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite book?
When I was a young teenager, my favorite book was On the Road by Jack Kerouac, and then I read most of his books uh after I read that, and I have like 6 copies of it from different years. But yeah, I love reading, and I mostly now like to read nonfiction and learn about other things or other people, and yeah, I think it helps my activism, and
Hmm.
it definitely makes me want to explore more.
Yeah. What activists do you like look up to or look to for inspiration? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like growing up, Harvey Milk was my biggest inspiration, especially because he graduated from my high school, and he moved to San Francisco. So I went to San Francisco because of him, and also because of Jack Kerouac and everything that was in those books about San Francisco and the Beat Generation. So yeah, but Harvey Milk, he changed a lot of things, and that was it felt close to home for me. And I
Hmm.
think that carried me a lot through high school.
Yeah, like looking up to these people who've kind of like again paved the road or like started the work that we can then continue through their own activism.
Mhm.
Hmm. Um, do you have any like recommendations for any books or like other sources for someone who might want to start like doing work in activism but might not know where to start?
Yeah. Read Transgender History by Suzanne Stryker and read Gender Outlaw by Kate Bornstein. Two great books and two activists that have been around for a very, very long time, decades of knowledge.
Hmm. Yeah, Susan Stryker is an amazing author. I started reading that book, the Transgender History book. I've not finished it, but it is on my desk. So definitely
Mhm.
revisiting that one.
And
Um,
I do also, there's this, I can't, the author is escaping me right now, but there's this book called Blues People, and it's about the history of music. And I also
mhm,
recommend reading that for anyone that's a musician, and knowing that like pretty much all music genres come from black culture
mhm,
and the history of with slavery and everything like that. And I think that's an important thing to learn if you want to play music, to know that, you know just to dedicate and honor that.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. So it looks like we have time for one more question for me before we move on to the audience questions.
Mm-hmm.
So my last question for you is, what's a question that you wish people would ask you but never do?
Oh, okay. I honestly, I don't know. I feel like people have asked me like basically everything. I've been being interviewed since I was like 13 years old.
Hmm.
So I've gotten asked a lot of weird questions and a lot of awesome questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I
For
love when
sure.
people ask me about music.
Mm,
And
yeah.
you know what? I do wish that people asked me more about what it was like historically, um, for trans people, years ago, going decades back, because I am saddened that many young people do not know history and do not care enough
Hmm.
to learn about it. And I urge you to learn it and get books and read as much as you can and learn who came first, because if you don't carry that history, it will be erased. Like, our community is so marginalized and so oppressed, and if we don't carry the history, it's going to be erased. And actually, in my apartment,
Hmm.
I've been collecting like books and documents and magazines, like everything that has trans history, because I hope that I can give it to an archive decades from now, because I really believe in preserving our history.
Yeah, absolutely. I myself am a history major, so I completely agree with everything you just said about the importance of it
It's
and being
important.
erased. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for answering all of
Of
my
course.
questions. So now we can move on to the audience questions. So I'll just like go ahead and like go down the list and read them to you if you want, and then you
Cool.
can answer them. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to let everyone know, we're gonna be doing some live music as well around 8,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
After the questions.
Awesome.
Awesome. Great. Okay, so the first one that we have here by Sam, they, she pronouns. She says, "Hi, any plan on making concerts in Canada when it's safe to do so?"
Yeah, I hope so. I played in Toronto once a very long time ago, so definitely I hope to come back as soon as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question we have is, how are you so awesome?
Aw, thank you.
Next one we have is, what is your moon and rising sign, if you know?
Well, wait. Moon and rising. I'm a Sagittarius, Leo, rising. I don't know. I can't remember right now. I'd have to look on that
Yeah,
CoStar app.
I feel you there. I don't
But I'm
really,
like
I
double
forget.
fire.
Ooh, nice. Oh, this is a good question. How do you deal with public restrooms?
I usually bring someone in with me. I definitely like have to be on guard, and I know it's an unsafe space. It's secluded, you know. So I usually try to bring someone in with me, and if I'm with someone that can't go in the men's bathroom, then I have them just wait for me, and if I'm not back in 3 minutes, like barge in.
Yeah,
So yeah, just having a backup plan, having a plan before going in.
real, real for sure. Um, okay, the next person says, "Hi Ryan, I found your song Daughter right when I started to question gender. I am now FTM and EJSA where we educate our school about LGBTQ plus community. Cutting my hair tomorrow, getting my first binder in a week, and going to start learning guitar. You have really helped me through my journey with your music. Thank you so much. I'm happier and I am that I, than I ever have been and you are a part of the reason why." Okay, no
I,
question, but very sweet
Yeah,
message.
yeah. Thank you so
Hmm.
much. I love hearing things like that, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Or here's a really good question too. How do you learn to be comfortable in your own skin with your journey? Parentheses, dealing with bullying and self-conscious.
I think just living, just going through it, and eventually you find who you are and you find what fits for you, and you just start getting comfortable with like the way you are. Like I don't think about being trans that much anymore unless I'm in like a dangerous situation or a situation that could be dangerous. Like I just am like existing in the world, and yeah, I'm just doing my thing.
Yeah. Carlos says, ever thought about making a Ryan Cassata Discord?
That's actually a really good idea. So I probably should get on that. Really good idea. Thank you.
Someone else says, I want to help other people if possible during my transition and wonder how to get started on YouTube to create content if I'm not an artist.
Yeah, you don't have to be an artist to make YouTube videos. Just, film and maybe start with like your coming out story and start from there. And then you could even ask in the video, like, hey, what do other people want to see? What would be helpful for you? And just connect with as many people and watch other videos too.
Yeah, great advice. Tell us about your experience as an actor. Are you hoping or planning to do more acting?
Yeah, I definitely hope to do more. I love acting. It's another performance aspect that I really enjoy, and I hope to do more. Two Eyes premiered at Outfest. That's the movie that I'm in. I play a trans teenager named Jalen in that movie, and yeah, we're hoping it will go more places and more people will see it, and that it will lead to other opportunities for me. And I love acting, so I hope to do more of it as soon as possible.
Hmm. Random question, but Ryan, where are your chains from?
Oh, some of them are from like family, mostly from family. Yeah, is that what you
Hmm.
mean? My necklaces?
I think I think so. Yeah, that's what
Oh,
the that was a question asked by the audience. That might be. Yeah. um, Another question says, "What made you decide to move to LA?"
why did I move to LA? Long story short, I got signed to a very famous producer, and I actually said this in a Sirius XM interview. It was Red One who produced Lady Gaga, made her famous, and when I got out here to LA, they dropped the deal, which was very devastating to me. But it got me out here, so I'm grateful for that, and it made me just want to keep going and do it anyway. So yeah.
Riley asks, "How did slash do you continue to learn about playing and creating music?
How? Sorry, I missed the first part. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah. How did slash do you continue to learn about playing and creating music?
Really, just experimenting. I think like part of it is like just like going into this thing called no mind where you're not really thinking anymore,
Mm.
and it's like it's meditation and just letting mistakes happen, because mistakes sometimes lead to like happy accidents, and it's part of creating.
Very true. Okay, next question says, if you have the chance to actually write the response. What were those books you mentioned by Susan and Kate?
Oh, the one by Susan is Transgender History. It might be like a longer title than that. And then Gender Outlaw by Kate Bornstein.
Next question says, touring India. Will you be planning a tour in India?
Hopefully one day there'll be a world tour.
Ooh. And then someone else says, is Norway on your tour list?
Hopefully. I mean, everywhere's on the list.
Yeah.
Anywhere they'll let me in.
Emmy says, hi, what genre of music have you never tried before that you want to try to branch into? Or have you tried them all?
I'm sure there's stuff I haven't tried. I mean, during this quarantine, I've like gotten into some like more hip hop and trap stuff, and I've learned how to do that. And yeah, I mean, I really just I just love to do anything. I mean, I definitely want to learn slide guitar, which is in a lot of like country and Americana music, so that's on my list too.
Carlos says, any tips on getting better at singing?
Practice, imitate your favorite singers, sing in the car, sing whenever. Like I sing like pretty much all the time. Like I didn't even realize, but like one of my friends told me that like even when I sneeze, I just like sing a few notes after it. It's just like the way I am.
Like a harmonized sneeze. I love that. uh, Addie says, or asks, how did the brownies come out?
Oh yeah, I made some brownies the other night. Not drug related. I'm sober. But yeah, they came out really good and they're gluten-free, super healthy brownies.
Nice. Ro asks, what makes you feel motivated?
Um talking to you guys online, hearing from you, and just, getting feedback. Like it's all telling me to keep going. So, yeah. I think people don't realize like people see me as like an impact on their lives, but they don't realize how much they're also impacting me. Where it's actually an equal exchange of energy that like I'm creating music and they're inspiring me to do that. So I think people don't realize it, but it's equal. It's very equal to me.
Love that. Next question says, when people misgender you, what are some of the ways you respond or don't respond? Any advice for people who are constantly misgendered yet scared to come out? Advice for asking for specific pronouns in the workplace and such or school.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Sometimes it's easier to do it by email. Sometimes it's easier face to face. I mean, just having the conversation at first is hard, but it does get easier. The more times you do it, it's like practicing something. Like it gets easier to ask. For me now, it's so much easier. Like if someone misgenders me, I'm just like he him. Like I'm not like I don't go into like this whole explanation where, well, actually I use he him and like get all angry and stuff. Like I'm just like he him. Like, so it changes, it shifts. And I think people need to realize that for trans people, our pronouns are just as important as our names, their validation, and it is survival.
Absolutely. Yeah. Next question says, super random, but have you slash do you watch anime?
I've watched a little bit. One of my friends is working on one right now, so I'll definitely watch that when it comes out.
Pretty cool. Uh, Quinn asks, what show slash concert has been the most memorable? Performer and attendee.
Sure. I would say the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame concert at Madison Square Garden was my favorite one. Oh, are you talking about mine or ones that I've been to?
I
That
think one
one
mm,
that I've been to?
that you've performed and that you've been to.
Oh, okay. That I've
Mm.
been to that one, and then that I performed. We had a good time at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. It was there were so many people there. We weren't expecting it, and yeah, we couldn't even handle the merch table. It was awesome. So,
That's pretty cool. Okay, and last question we have here says, Ryan, you've been a huge inspiration for my music and my own identity. As a trans man who also doesn't want testosterone, you continuously remind me there is no right or wrong way to be trans, and to always stay true to myself. It's been an honor to be featured on 3 of your playlists. Being featured has really helped my music career grow, and I can't thank you enough.
oh, that's so awesome. I'm glad, and actually, I know who this artist is, and I recommend checking out his music and listening to it. He's on my playlist, the same name, Leon Rose. So check him out and check out the other artists on my playlist. A lot of them are indie musicians that deserve to have fans.
Mhm. Yeah. So there's a couple more questions, not the last one, my bad. Um, Karen says, would you do a Zoom with younger trans kids?
Yeah,
Parentheses,
definitely.
age 10. Yeah.
Definitely. I've done a lot of concerts for younger people geared to it. Obviously, the music is a little shifted. We do PG versions of everything. But yeah, I'll definitely do it. So you could email me if you had something in mind. Just go to ryancassata.com.
Hmm. Someone else asks, what's your favorite food?
Sushi for
Oh,
sure. It's like I could just eat that every night. So yeah, cool.
sushi's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, it looks like that's it for the questions. There's time for one more if anybody else wants to ask one. But if not,
Yeah, we'll do some music.
yeah. Okay, last one. Do you have tips for how to deal with people who don't accept you?
Just educate them, just keep educating them, and hopefully they will come around. Show them YouTube videos, give them books, and hopefully they want to learn.
Absolutely. Okay, and last one says, what's your favorite Kendrick Lamar song?
Honestly, the whole damn album is great. And also All Right is one of my favorite songs.
Nice. Okay. It looks like that's it for the audience questions. Thank you so much, Ryan, for answering those.
Yeah.